The alarm bells screamed through the bridge of the TDF Valiant as Captain Jake Morrison rushed from his quarters. His boots pounded against the metal deck, echoing through the narrow hallway. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls, painting the ship in a heartbeat of crimson shadow. "Report," Jake barked as he slid into the bridge. His crew was already at their stations, but every face carried the same grim look, fear tightly held in check. Lieutenant Katie Barnes, her hands flying over her console, swallowed before answering. "Sir, we're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler sector. Source, Zephyrian Republic. It's not good." Jake lowered himself into the captain's chair, gripping the armrests as though anchoring himself to reality. The Zephyrians weren't just allies. They were friends. Brilliant, bird-like beings who had traded humanity mathematics for medicine, science for art. Their contributions had quietly accelerated Earth's spaceflight programs for decades. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered, static hissed, then a figure emerged. Commander Vexai appeared, though barely recognizable. His normally radiant feathers, a cascade of blues and silvers that once shone like starlight, were tattered, darkened with soot and blood. His eyes, usually calm and calculating, now brimmed with terror. His voice shook. "To anyone who can hear this," he began, his words cracking under strain. "This is Commander Vexai of the Zephyrian Republic. We are dying." Behind him, the feed revealed chaos. Shattered walls, fires not of flame but of crystal spreading across surfaces like a living disease. Ships screamed past in the distance, twisting into impossible shapes that made the crew of the Valiant gasp aloud. Jake leaned forward, his pulse hammering. "3 days ago," Vexai continued, "they came from the dark between stars. We call them the Void Hunters. They are not like anything we have faced. They do not conquer, they consume. Worlds, fleets, even the laws of reality itself." Lieutenant Sam Torres, the Valiant's navigator, muttered under his breath, "That's impossible." Jake shot him a look, though he silently agreed. But impossibility had no meaning in deep space. He had seen enough to know the universe loved to break rules. The feed crackled and cut to new images. Zephyrian cities burning with crystalline fire, their graceful spires collapsing into shards that grew like tumors. Civilian ships twisted in mid-flight, their hulls stretching, folding, breaking apart as though space itself had betrayed them. The screams of fleeing Zephyrians echoed faintly in the transmission. Vexai's voice returned, thinner now, like he was speaking from the bottom of an abyss. "Our weapons mean nothing, our shields, our fleets useless. They phase in and out of existence. When they strike, physics itself ceases to obey. Entire worlds have fallen, 12 already gone, billions of our people erased." The screen showed huddled children, their feathers dulled by soot, their small eyes wide with terror. Some chirped softly, clutching each other in caves lit only by failing lamps. Katie covered her mouth. "My God." Vexai's gaze fixed on the camera, his voice breaking. "To any species that hears this, we offer everything. All our knowledge, all our technology, all our resources. Just help us survive. If you cannot save us, then remember us. Remember that we existed." Then came a sound that chilled the bridge of the Valiant, a noise like shattering glass mixed with the scream of tearing metal. The feed behind Vexai filled with writhing shapes, shifting in and out of reality. They had found him. The screen went black. Silence filled the bridge. Jake sat frozen. His crew looked at him, their eyes pleading for guidance, for hope. Katie's voice was barely above a whisper. "Sir, what do we do?" Jake stood slowly, his jaw tight, his mind racing. His instincts screamed that conventional weapons were useless. The Zephyrians had advanced technology far beyond Earth, and even they had failed. But Earth had something different, something no one else had dared try. "The Zephyrians were right," Jake said finally. "Their technology couldn't save them. That's because they're thinking about this the wrong way." He turned to Katie. "Send a priority message to Earth Command, full authorization. I want the Special Assets Division deployed to Kepler." Katie blinked. "Sir, you mean the Beast Corps?" Sam turned in his chair, disbelief in his voice. "You really think animals can fight that?" He pointed to the dark screen where Vexai's last desperate message had played. "Not just animals," Jake replied, his voice grim. "Enhanced predators, creatures evolution spent 4 billion years perfecting, sharpened by human science. Technology can be hacked, disrupted, broken, but instinct, you can't erase instinct, you can't rewrite evolution." The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. The idea sounded insane. But deep down, a flicker of something dangerous stirred in their hearts: hope. Jake set his jaw, eyes hard as steel. Set course for Earth. The Zephyrians begged the stars for salvation. They're about to discover Earth's oldest truth: the hunt always answers. The Valiant turned its bow toward home. Somewhere far below Yellowstone National Park, in the hidden chambers of Earth's most secret facility, predators waited, claws sharp, eyes bright, instincts alive. And the void was about to learn fear. Deep beneath Yellowstone National Park, far below the surface tourists walked upon, a hidden facility thrummed with quiet power. Steel corridors stretched endlessly, carved into the mountain itself. Heavy blast doors sealed away what most of humanity didn't even know existed. Dr. Amy Chen walked briskly down the long hallway, her footsteps echoing against polished metal floors. She was small, sharp-eyed, and wore a lab coat over body armor. In her hand was a data pad glowing with urgent orders. Captain Jake Morrison's request had reached Earth Command less than an hour ago. The Beast Corps was being mobilized. Amy had worked here for 5 years, watching her research grow into something the galaxy wasn't ready to believe in. She knew the dangers, she knew the ethical questions, and she knew that once unleashed, nothing would ever be the same. She stopped at a reinforced glass window. Beyond it was one of her oldest companions. A massive grizzly bear sat calmly, towering over the technician beside him. His fur rippled with muscle, his head enormous, his claws thick and curved like knives. But what held Amy's attention were his eyes. They glowed faintly blue, lit from within by the neural implant in his skull. When those eyes lifted to meet hers, there was intelligence there, a mind. "Morning, Goliath," Amy said softly into the speaker. The bear tilted his head and made a low, rumbling sound. The implant translated instantly into words through the overhead system. "Good morning, Dr. Chen. Are we going on a mission today?" Even after all these years, Amy's heart skipped at the sound of a bear speaking English. She smiled faintly. "Yes, Goliath, a very big mission. Our allies are in trouble. They need us." The bear rose onto his hind legs, his full height stretching nearly 8 feet. He placed one enormous paw against the glass. "Then I am ready. I will protect." Amy moved on, her chest tight with both pride and fear. She passed the wolf enclosure next. Inside, 8 timberwolves prowled, their bodies sleek, eyes sharp. They worked together around a puzzle, a shifting maze of glowing blocks that moved unpredictably. At the center sat Luna, their alpha. Her fur was silver gray, her gaze piercing with uncanny intelligence. She barked once, and the others shifted positions, solving the puzzle as a pack in seconds. Luna looked up at Amy. Through the implant, her voice came clear. "Enemy comes, we hunt." Amy shivered. Luna always seemed to sense more than she should. Further down, mountain lions leaped between floating platforms that rotated unpredictably, their reflexes almost supernatural. Augmented muscles let them twist midair, claws finding purchase on impossible surfaces. In another chamber, golden eagles with wingspans over 12 feet soared in controlled storms of artificial wind. Their vision enhancements let them track tiny moving lights across miles. Everywhere Amy went, predators prepared. Not just animals anymore, but something more: humanity's partners. Sergeant Rick Adams met her at the Central Command Center. He was broad, scarred, and carried himself like a man who had spent decades around dangerous creatures without forgetting to respect them. "Doc," he said, holding up a data pad. "Orders came through, full Alpha package deployment. Morrison's request was approved by Earth Command without hesitation." Amy frowned, taking the pad. "The full package, that's our entire frontline force. Bears, wolves, lions, eagles, everything. That's a massive risk." Rick shrugged. "Risk, sure, but the Zephyrians aren't just allies. They saved us during the Titan Plague. Command won't send half measures." A new voice entered, deep and commanding. "And neither will I." Colonel Pete Walker stepped into the room. His hair was gray, his face lined from years of impossible choices. He had been here since the program's beginning, when Beast Corps was just a crazy theory buried in black budgets. "I've reviewed Morrison's report," Walker said without greeting. He tapped his pad, bringing up a holographic display of the Kepler sector. "These void hunters phase in and out of reality. Energy weapons don't touch them. Explosives barely scratch them. Shields are useless." Rick crossed his arms. "So how the hell do we fight that?" Walker's grim smile carried no humor. We don't fight them with technology, we hunt them. Amy nodded, understanding instantly. Predatory instinct. Every creature here evolved to find prey that hides. Wolves smell through deception. Eagles see beyond camouflage. Big cats strike before prey knows it's vulnerable. Goliath, she glanced at the bear's profile on the hollow screen, anchors reality itself with his electromagnetic field. They won't be able to phase away from him. Rick whistled low. Nature's oldest solutions, enhanced with science. Walker pointed at the display. Predators don't rely on algorithms. They don't care about physics behaving normally. They rely on instinct, honed over millions of years. Instincts you can't hack, disrupt, or predict. If anything can sense those void freaks when they slip out of phase, it's our animals. Amy felt both excitement and dread. She loved the animals not as weapons, but as friends. Many had volunteered in their own way. Neural implants had given them intelligence enough to choose. They weren't slaves. They were partners. Remember, she said firmly, looking at Walker and Rick, these aren't mindless soldiers. They understand. They chose this path. They trust us. We owe them respect. Rick gave her a rare, soft smile. Always do, Doc. Walker turned to the hollow screen, his voice iron. We have 6 hours before the transports arrive. Prep the Alpha package. Everything we've got goes to Kepler. Amy activated the facility-wide comms. Her voice echoed through every enclosure, every chamber. All enhanced units report to preparation areas. Mission confirmed. Friends of Earth are in danger. It's time. The facility stirred with life. Goliath padded toward his transport chamber, his massive paws shaking the floor. Luna howled, her pack answering in perfect unison. Eagles spread their wings, golden eyes sharp with anticipation. Mountain lions leapt higher, faster, their muscles coiled with barely restrained energy. They understood. They were going to war. Amy stood in the command center, watching status lights flick from yellow to green as each predator checked in. She whispered to herself, God help us. They're about to learn fear. 6 hours later, the sky above Yellowstone split open as 3 massive transport ships descended. Their hulls gleamed with Earth's markings, their engines rumbling like thunder across the valleys. Loading the beasts was a delicate process. Each animal required specialized habitats, food, and care. The bears needed reinforced containment with environmental controls. Wolves had to be kept as a pack, or stress would undermine them. Eagles demanded flight chambers even in space. The entire facility worked like a beehive, hundreds of personnel coordinating the impossible logistics of transporting Earth's most dangerous predators across the stars. Amy oversaw Goliath's loading herself. He stepped into the reinforced pod without hesitation, the neural translator humming softly. Do not fear, Doctor. We are hunters we will protect. Her throat tightened. Just come back alive, Goliath, all of you. He rumbled low, almost like laughter. We will, because pack hunts together. Hours later, the TDF Valiant cut back into real space at the edge of the Kepler sector. Jake Morrison stood at the front of his bridge, staring in horror. Before them stretched 3 entire planets, burning not with fire but crystalline growths that spread like infection. Stars twisted in impossible arcs. Space itself shimmered like heat mirages. Sam Torres muttered, the whole system looks wrong. Katie swallowed. Sir, gravitational readings are chaotic. It's like physics itself is breaking down. In the distance, what remained of the Zephyrian fleet fought desperately. Their sleek silver ships fired beautiful blue energy beams, which passed harmlessly through the massive black crystal vessels of the Void Hunters. In reply, the alien ships unleashed blasts that twisted Zephyrian craft into grotesque shapes before erasing them entirely. A voice crackled through the comms, Commander Vexai. Captain Morrison, thank the stars you came, but do not approach. Their weapons will unmake your ship. On screen, another Zephyrian ship fired. Its weapons went straight through a Void Hunter vessel. The alien ship retaliated, and the Zephyrian craft twisted in half before vanishing like it had never existed. Sam's voice shook. How are we supposed to fight that? Before Jake could answer, the Valiant shuddered. Space rippled. One of the smaller Void Hunter ships appeared, flickering in and out of reality, shifting position faster than sensors could track. Shields up, Jake barked. All weapons ready. Katie's hands flew across her console. Sir, our sensors read them in 17 different locations simultaneously. They're everywhere. The alien vessel hovered before them, its hull folding like liquid crystal, impossible to comprehend. And then Jake felt it, something brushed against his mind. Cold, alien, a vast intelligence. For an instant he saw reality through its eyes, dimensions overlapping, time as a spiral, possibility as fragile as glass. Then it was gone. The ship began to drift away. Katie's eyes widened. "Sir, they're ignoring us. They don't see us as a threat." Jake clenched his fists. That was worse than being targeted. They weren't even prey, just irrelevant. He opened a channel to the transports. "Dr. Chen, are you seeing this?" Amy's voice came back, calm but taut. "Yes, and the animals are reacting, not with fear, with curiosity. They see something in the hunters our sensors can't. Goliath keeps staring at them like he's solving a puzzle." Hope sparked inside Jake. Maybe instinct saw what science could not. The Void Hunters thought Earth wasn't a threat. They were about to be proven wrong. Jake gave the order. "All Earth vessels, deploy Beast Core. Let's see if predators can hunt the Void." Cargo bays opened like jaws along the sides of the Earth transports. From within came the sound of talons scraping metal, claws flexing, wings unfurling. Then the predators launched into the Void. First came the Eagles. 24 enhanced golden eagles shot into space, their vast wings glowing faintly with life support harnesses. Their eyes burned gold as they spread out across the Void in a seemingly chaotic pattern. But to them, it was instinctive, the same flocking rules they had used for millions of years, now sharpened by neural implants that let each bird sense the others like a single organism. "Eagle squadrons deployed," Amy's voice reported through the comms. Her hand hovered over the neural link interface, monitoring their perception. "Storm is in the lead." On Jake's screen, one eagle soared closer to the massive crystalline vessel that hovered in front of them. To human sensors, it flickered in and out of existence, impossible to target. To Storm, it was prey, camouflaged, yes, but prey all the same. His talons flexed, crackling with electromagnetic energy from his cybernetic augmentations. The alien ship shifted, trying to phase out. But Storm banked hard, his eyes already predicting where it would reappear. His claws raked across its hull, tearing into dark crystal plating that had shrugged off every beam weapon. The Void Hunter screamed, not a sound in air, but a ripple through space that shook the Valiant's hull. Katie gasped, "Captain, it's solid." Their ship phased back into reality. Jake grinned fiercely. "Because the eagle made it, instinct locked onto it. You can't outphase a hunter." Other eagles dove in. They struck together, weaving in perfect coordination. Where one tore at the hull, another dove for exposed seams. When the ship flickered, they already waited in the next position. To them, this wasn't incomprehensible alien technology. It was simply prey hiding, darting, trying to escape, and predators always adapt. The alien vessel cracked open, crystal shards scattering across the Void like frozen rain. For the first time in the battle, a Void Hunter ship died. On the Zephyrian command vessel, Commander Vexhi's voice carried disbelief. "Impossible, you destroyed one of them. Our entire fleet could not." "Not impossible," Jake cut in, "just instinct." But the Void Hunters did not retreat. They converged. 3 massive vessels materialized around the Eagles, space bending in impossible arcs as their weapons charged. Beams of warped reality built between them, enough to erase the squadron in a single strike. Amy's voice cut sharp through comms. "Eagles withdraw immediately, break formation and scatter." The eagles flared their wings, each peeling away like sparks from a fire. The alien beams lashed out, bending space into blades. One eagle vanished in a flash of impossible geometry, her body folded into a dozen directions at once. Amy flinched, her hands gripping the console. Starfare lost. Storm screeched, the sound like a thunderclap through the neural net. Rage rippled through the flock. Their movements grew sharper, more coordinated, each bird burning with vengeance. "They're not retreating," Amy warned. "They're preparing to counterattack." Jake's jaw clenched. "Good, but they won't fight alone." He opened a new channel. "Deploy the wolves." From the transports, 8 pods launched. They streaked across space, breaking open near the hull of the largest Void Hunter vessel. From them leapt wolves clad in thin, glowing armor that let them breathe, move, and run in zero gravity. They didn't hesitate. They bounded across the alien hull as though it were snow. Their claws, enhanced with monomolecular edges, bit deep into crystal plating. At their center was Luna. Her eyes glowed silver with the neural link. She barked once, a sharp signal that carried through vacuum by implant, and her pack split into two teams without hesitation. Katie leaned forward. They're moving toward specific points, but nothing there shows as weak on our scans. Amy shook her head. It's instinct. Pack hunters always know where to strike. They don't need scans. Luna's team reached a jagged section of hull. She snarled and leapt, her claws tearing into a seam invisible to human eyes. Her wolves followed, pulling crystal apart until a breach formed. One by one, the pack slipped inside. The alien ship's interior was a nightmare, corridors folded in impossible ways. Angles met where no geometry should allow. Rooms were bigger inside than out, but the wolves were unbothered. They followed scents only they could perceive, chemical trails left by the crystalline crew. To them, this wasn't an incomprehensible ship. It was a den full of prey. The crew of the Void Hunter vessel finally appeared, crystalline beings 7 feet tall, their bodies sharp-edged, their movements elegant. Their glowing facets shifted colors as they tried to phase away, but the wolves anticipated each flicker. The pack struck as one, silent, efficient, predators meeting prey that had never evolved to be hunted. Back on the Valiant, Jake watched the battle unfold. 2 ships disabled, Katie reported breathlessly. The wolves are inside the third, sir, they're winning. For the first time since Kepler's distress call, hope surged on the bridge, but it didn't last. The largest Void Hunter ship began to move. It dwarfed all the others, a mountain of black crystal bigger than Earth's moons. Space around it rippled violently, stars bending into spirals. Weapons charged along its vast surface. Amy's voice broke in, taut with urgency. Captain, that's their command vessel. It's directing the others. If we can take it out, the rest may break. Jake nodded. Then it's time, he switched channels, deploy Goliath. A single pod launched from the transport, reinforced to withstand atmospheric re-entry, or, in this case, reality itself trying to rip it apart. Inside, Goliath crouched, calm as a mountain. His neural implant glowed blue. As the pod struck the hull of the massive command vessel, the bear unleashed his gift. A surge of electromagnetic energy rippled outward, anchoring everything around him into solid, undeniable reality. The alien ship, which had been flickering across dimensions, froze into solidity. Katie gasped. He's holding the ship in phase. They can't shift away. Exactly, Jake said, voice tight. Now watch the storm. The pod split open, and Goliath roared as he tore free. His claws, tipped with alloy harder than diamond, sank into the hull. He ripped through crystal as though it were paper. Inside the command vessel, the Void Hunters panicked. Their reality-warping powers fizzled under the bear's electromagnetic field. They could not slip away. They could not bend space. For the first time, they were trapped. Goliath moved through their corridors like a force of nature. He swiped aside crystalline warriors, their bodies shattering under blows that shook the deck. He followed instinct deeper toward the heart of the ship. Every strike was purposeful. Every roar was final. Amy's voice cracked through the comms, all mingling with fear. He's anchoring the entire ship into normal space. It's never been done before. He's turning their greatest strength into weakness. Jake's eyes narrowed, then let him hunt. On the Zephyrian flagship, Commander Vexhai watched in silence, feathers trembling. Around him, his surviving officers stared at their screens in disbelief. Finally he spoke, his voice thick with wonder. Captain Morrison, your creatures are dismantling what our fleets could not even scratch. How can beasts succeed where advanced science failed? Jake allowed himself a grim smile. Because they're not trying to match your enemy's technology, they're just doing what evolution made them to do, hunt. The Void Hunters had thought themselves untouchable, but they had never faced predators, and predators never stopped. The tide of the battle was turning. But then alarms screamed on the Valiant. Katie's console flared with red. Sir, multiple new signatures incoming, dozens, maybe hundreds, the rest of the Void Hunter fleet is arriving. On the main screen, dark shapes emerged from the rippling stars. One after another, colossal vessels phased into reality, blotting out the light. Their sheer numbers dwarfed the battlefield. Sam's voice cracked. There's too many. Even as Earth's predators tore ships apart, An armada unlike anything humanity had ever faced now descended upon them. Jake's hands tightened on the armrest. His instincts screamed at him, this wasn't over, this was just the beginning. The void rippled. From the depths of dark space, more vessels emerged, dozens at first, then hundreds. A fleet of black crystal mountains filling the Kepler system until the stars themselves were swallowed. Their surfaces shimmered, folding in and out of dimensions. Some seemed larger on one side than the other, others flickered like mirages. Katie's voice was hoarse. "Sir, I count over 300 new signatures. They're surrounding us." On the Zephyrian flagship, panic erupted. Officers chirped in alarm, their feathers dulling to gray with fear. Vexhai gripped the railing, his wide eyes fixed on the vast armada. "We are finished," he whispered. "Even with your hunters, there are too many." Jake Morrison stood tall on the Valiant's bridge. His gut clenched, but he forced his voice to remain steady. "We're not finished, not yet." Behind him, Sam Torres muttered, "Captain, we can't fight that. No fleet could." Jake didn't answer. His mind raced. Retreat meant abandoning the Zephyrians. Fighting meant suicide, unless the hunters could do more than tear apart ships one by one. Inside the command vessel, Goliath rampaged through crystalline corridors. His massive claws sparked with electromagnetic energy, tearing open bulkheads and shorting out systems. His field held the ship solid, preventing it from phasing away. But his heavy breaths came harder now, every step of his enormous body shaking the deck. Through the neural link, Amy Chen felt his fatigue. His massive muscles strained, his heart hammered, his strength stretched thin. "Hold on, Goliath," she whispered. "You're not alone." A howl echoed across the network. Luna and her pack had carved their way deeper into the smaller Void Hunter vessel. They darted through impossible hallways, splitting and rejoining seamlessly, their claws slashing crystalline figures before the enemy could shift. But even Luna felt the mounting pressure. New ships meant reinforcements would soon arrive aboard. Through the link, she broadcast her thought in clear, translated words. "Too many prey. Pack must change hunt." Amy frowned. "What do you mean, Luna?" Luna's silver eyes gleamed in the link. "We do not hunt ships. We hunt the mind behind them." Jake overheard through the shared comm net. His eyes narrowed. The mind behind them. Amy straightened. "She's right. Pack hunters don't just attack bodies, they go for the leader, the alpha prey, the one everything else follows." Jake slammed his fist on the armrest. "The command vessel. Goliath already has it pinned in our reality if the wolves can locate its control core." "They could cut the head off the entire fleet," Amy finished. Vexhai leaned forward on his holofeed, feathers trembling. "Captain, you believe destroying one ship will stop them?" "No," Jake said. His voice was cold iron. "I believe destroying their leader will." On the battlefield, Void Hunter ships advanced, their weapons glowing with impossible energy. The eagles streaked between them, wings flashing. They slashed at joints, distracted beams, forced the enemy to focus on them. For every eagle that struck, another screamed as it was caught in warped geometry, folded into shards of light. Amy winced with each loss, feeling their absence like torn threads in her mind. "Storm, pull your squad back. Buy the wolves time." The lead eagle screeched in answer, a sound that rattled even Jake's bones. Storm wheeled high above the void, his flock scattering wide, harassing the edges of the fleet. They moved with reckless abandon, instincts guiding them where no computer could. But for every Void Hunter they distracted, 10 more loomed. Sam muttered, "We're barely scratching them. It's like holding back a tidal wave with a bucket." Jake ignored him. He opened a channel to Luna. "Luna, Goliath is inside the command vessel. Can you and your pack reach him?" The wolf's eyes gleamed through her neural cam. "Yes, we smell the heart of prey. We will run to it." Her howl echoed, and the pack surged forward, darting through impossible geometry as though it were open forest. They moved faster now, driven by purpose. Deep inside the massive command vessel, Goliath slowed. He leaned against a shattered bulkhead, his sides heaving. His electromagnetic field wavered, flickering. The Void Hunters pressed closer, crystalline beings with glowing facets trying to break past his claws. He crushed one with a single swipe, but 5 more took its place. "Dr. Chen," his voice rumbled through the link. "I am tired." Amy's throat closed. "No, Goliath, not yet. Hold just a little longer. Luna's coming. You just need to hold." The bear roared, summoning strength from deep within, and unleashed another surge. The entire ship shook. Reality around it snapped solid again. The Void Hunters inside staggered, their powers collapsing under the weight of his field. From behind him, a howl echoed. Luna leapt through a shattered wall, her pack flooding into the chamber like shadows. Their silver fur gleamed in the strange light. "Pack has come," Luna said through the translator. "Alpha prey must fall." Together they turned deeper into the vessel. Goliath lumbered forward, Luna's wolves darting ahead. The crystalline enemy tried to block them, but wolves slipped through their guard, tearing, slashing, vanishing into shadows. Goliath's massive frame crushed through walls they couldn't. They were heading for the core. On the Valiant's bridge, alarms blared. Katie shouted over the din. "Sir, enemy fleet is charging all weapons. Full barrage incoming, aimed at us." Jake's gut turned cold. If those beams fired, their fleet would vanish. They didn't have time. Amy's voice snapped through the comms. "Jake, Goliath, and Luna are almost at the command core. Buy them seconds, that's all they need." Jake's eyes darted across the tactical display. Seconds, that was all. He turned to his crew. "Barnes, open every comm channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Tors, give me course vectors. We're going to make them focus on us." Sam spun in his chair. "Sir, that's suicide." "Do it," Jake roared. The Valiant shot forward, engines burning bright. Every Zephyrian ship still intact followed, their captains answering Jake's unspoken command. One last charge. They dove straight at the heart of the Void Hunter Armada. Inside the command vessel, Luna and her pack burst into a cavernous chamber that twisted in on itself. At its center pulsed a vast crystal brain, shards stretching in every direction, glowing with alien thought. Energy coursed through it, threads reaching out across the fleet. The wolves growled in unison. "Prey." "Goliath," Luna barked. "Hold the den, pack hunts the heart." The bear slammed his claws into the floor, unleashing a surge that rippled outward, holding the chamber solid. The crystalline defenders around the brain staggered, trapped in one reality. The wolves struck. They darted in, weaving between beams of energy, their claws tearing at the glowing shards. Cracks formed. The crystal brain pulsed violently, trying to phase away, but Goliath's field held it trapped. One wolf was caught in a flash of light, vanishing with a yelp. Another fell under a blast, but Luna leapt high, her jaws clamping down on the central shard. She bit hard, enhanced fangs cracking alien crystal. The brain screamed, a sound that tore through every ship in the Void Hunter fleet. On the Valiant, Katie clutched her ears. "Sir, their fleet, their coordination is collapsing." On the Zephyrian flagship, Vexhi's feathers flared bright. "Captain Morrison, the enemy ships, they're faltering." Jake bared his teeth in a feral grin. "Luna, finish it." Inside the chamber, the wolf Alpha snarled and twisted her head. The central shard shattered in her jaws. Energy exploded outward in a wave that rocked the entire vessel. The Void Hunter fleet convulsed. One by one, their massive ships flickered, lost coherence, and disintegrated into glittering shards. Others phased away, retreating into the dark beyond the stars. But the victory came at a price. In the core chamber, Goliath lay on the floor, his massive chest rising and falling weakly. His electromagnetic glow flickered dim. Around him, only 4 wolves still stood. Luna panted, her muzzle streaked with glowing dust. Her voice came faint and ragged through the link. "Heart prey is broken. Pack survives." The transmission cut out in static. On the Valiant, the bridge erupted in cheers. Zephyrian ships lit up their channels with cries of joy and disbelief. Commander Vexhi appeared on the screen, his feathers shining bright again. "You did it," he whispered. "By the stars, you actually did it." Jake leaned forward, his relief tempered with worry. "We did, but the battle's not over. They'll be back." And deep in the command vessel, Goliath's faint voice rumbled through the link. "Doctor, I am tired, but did we win?" Amy swallowed hard, her eyes wet. "Yes, Goliath, you won." But before anyone could breathe, Katie shouted from her console, her voice sharp with dread. "Captain, long-range sensors, something else is coming through the void. Bigger than anything we've seen yet." The bridge froze. The shattered remnants of the Void Hunter fleet were nothing compared to what now approached. The void rippled. Where the shattered husks of Void Hunter vessels drifted, space itself began to bend inward, as though reality were collapsing into a single point. The Valiant's bridge filled with alarms, every console flaring red. Katie's voice trembled. Sir, whatever's coming through, it's bigger than a planet. On the screen, darkness unfolded. Not a ship, not even a fleet. A single entity emerged, vast, incomprehensible. It dwarfed moons, its form shifting constantly. At one moment, it looked like a spire of black crystal stretching forever. The next, a sphere of jagged facets covered in writhing arms. Then it folded in on itself, becoming a flat plane that stretched across the stars. Sam's jaw dropped. What the hell is that? Vexhi's voice cut in from the Zephyrian flagship, horror thick in every syllable. It is their progenitor, their god, the Devourer. The bridge fell silent. The void hunters had been terrifying enough. But this was the thing that had created them. Katie whispered, "Sir, if that thing reaches the surviving worlds." Jake finished for her, "Then the galaxy is done." In the command vessel's shattered core, Luna lifted her head, her silver fur streaked with glowing dust. Through the neural link, she saw what the humans saw. Her voice was calm, steady. "Alpha Prey has mother, bigger hunt." Amy's hands shook over the console. "No, not bigger, impossible." But Goliath stirred, his massive chest heaving. His eyes glowed faintly as his deep voice rumbled through the link. "Nothing is impossible, prey is prey." Amy pressed her hand to the console as if she could reach him. "Goliath, you can't. You're already hurt. You pushed yourself too far." The bear rose unsteadily, his claws scraping the crystal floor. "Then, pack hunts without me." "No," Amy snapped, tears in her eyes. "You don't get to quit on me now, not after everything." On the Valiant, Jake's mind raced. The Devourer was so massive their weapons wouldn't matter. The beast core had done the impossible once, but against something the size of a small planet. He turned sharply to Amy's feed. "Doctor, tell me straight, can they fight this thing?" Amy's voice cracked, but she forced steadiness. "Not by brute force, but maybe by instinct. Predators don't kill prey by overwhelming it. They exploit weaknesses, find the throat, the jugular, the heart." Jake's jaw tightened. "Then we need to give them a chance to find it." Katie looked up pale. "Sir, what do you mean?" "We distract it," Jake said simply. "Draw its attention, keep it busy long enough for the predators to find a way inside." Sam stared at him. "Sir, that's suicide." Jake gave a grim smile. "Yeah, but it buys them the hunt." The Devourer moved. Its impossible body shifted, expanding across the stars. Crystal tendrils lashed out, wrapping around Zephyrian ships and crushing them like paper. Beams of warped energy swept across space, erasing vessels without a trace. Entire sectors of reality bent inward as though being swallowed. Zephyrian officers shrieked in terror. "It is feeding." "Captain," Katie cried, "we have to move." But Jake didn't move. He stared at the monster, his jaw locked. Then he spoke into the open channel. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. Form up on the Valiant. Target the Devourer. We're going to make it notice us." Vexhi's face appeared on screen, feathers pale. "You are mad. You cannot fight it." "You're right," Jake said. His eyes were hard steel. "But maybe we can distract it long enough for the beast core to do what no weapon can." The eagles struck first. Storm led his flock in a dive toward the Devourer's writhing surface. Their wings flared, cybernetic talons sparking with energy. They slashed at tendrils the size of mountains, ripping chunks of crystal free. The Devourer roared, the sound vibrating through the void like thunder. Amy gasped. "It's noticing them, it's reacting." The Devourer's massive body shifted, swatting at the eagles with tendrils that moved like scythes. Two birds vanished instantly, shredded into light. Storm screeched in defiance, weaving through gaps, slashing again and again. "They can't last," Amy whispered. "Then we give them backup," Jake ordered. "Deploy the lions." 6 pods streaked from the transports, breaking open as enhanced mountain lions leapt free. Their sleek forms twisted in the void, claws glowing with augmented energy. They bounded along the Devourer's vast surface, moving faster than its massive limbs could strike. One lion leapt across a gap miles wide, slashing a tendril in half before landing lightly on crystal ridges. Another dug into cracks, carving deeper, opening wounds that spread like fractures through glass. But for every strike, the Devourer shifted, regenerating, adapting. Amy shouted into the neural link. "Lions, don't try to kill it outright. Look for the weakness. Find where it feels pain." The lions adjusted instantly. They scattered, attacking different points, probing, testing. One clawed into a glowing seam, and the devourer howled, staggering. "There," Amy cried. "That's it, it has weak points like nerves." But the devourer retaliated. A blast of warped energy swept across space, catching the lions mid-leap. Two were annihilated instantly, their bodies torn across dimensions. The survivors regrouped, snarling, circling warily. On the Valiant, Sam muttered, "We're throwing animals at a god." "No," Jake said, his eyes burned. "We're throwing hunters at prey that never learned fear." Then came the wolves. Luna's pack darted from the shattered command vessel onto the devourer's vast surface. They sprinted in impossible arcs, weaving between tendrils, their silver fur flashing. They didn't strike blindly. They hunted together, searching, probing, sensing. Luna's howl cut through the neural net. "Weak point beneath, pack digs." She and her wolves began tearing into the crystal shell, their claws carving through layers of alien matter. Sparks and energy sprayed, but they didn't stop. They smelled the heart beneath. The devourer thrashed, its tendrils smashing at the surface. Goliath lumbered forward, planting his massive claws into the wound the wolves had made. His electromagnetic field surged, forcing the devourer's immense body to remain in one reality. "Doctor," his voice rumbled weakly, "I will hold, you strike." Amy's throat tightened. "Goliath, don't you dare give up." The bear roared louder than thunder. His massive body anchored the devourer in place. The wolves howled, diving deeper. The lions slashed open flanks. The eagles struck tendrils from above. For the first time, the devourer bled. Shards of glowing crystal sprayed into space, fragments dissolving into ash. The impossible enemy had been wounded. On the Valiant, Katie gasped, "Sir, it's working, they're hurting it." Jake's fists clenched. "Then keep the pressure up. All ships focus fire on the wound." The Zephyrian fleet, battered and broken, rallied. They poured their remaining firepower into the crack. Energy beams burned against the wound, widening it. The devourer howled again, its body writhing in pain. It turned its full attention on the beast core. Tendrils thicker than skyscrapers lashed at them, beams of warped reality converging. Amy screamed into the link. "Storm, Luna, Goliath, get out of there." But Goliath didn't move. He spread his massive arms wide, electromagnetic fields blazing. He caught the brunt of the attack, holding the beams back with his own body. His growl shook the link. "Pack hunts, I protect." The wolves tore deeper into the wound. The lions carved out glowing nerves. The eagles struck from above, ripping shards free. The devourer reeled, its impossible form cracking apart. For a moment, it looked like they could win. Then the devourer changed. Its entire body convulsed, folding inward, space itself buckled. The stars bent, the void darkened, and in an instant the battlefield was gone. The Valiant, the Zephyrian fleet, the beast core, all were pulled into a pocket of warped reality, a prison dimension of twisted light and broken physics. Katie's voice was a scream. "Sir, we're not in normal space anymore," it pulled us inside itself. On the view screen, the devourer loomed above them, vaster than ever, its crystal core glowing like a star. They hadn't just wounded it. They were inside its body now. Jake's eyes hardened. "Then we finished the hunt from the inside." The Valiant shuddered, its hull groaning as though the void itself pressed against it. Warning lights strobed across the bridge. Every screen filled with static and warped images of jagged crystal landscapes twisting in impossible directions. Katie's voice cracked. "Sir, we're not in space anymore. We're inside the devourer." Jake gripped the armrests, his jaw locked. The stars were gone. Instead, an endless crystalline labyrinth surrounded them, glowing veins of light pulsing like arteries. The scale was unfathomable, ridges the size of mountains, caverns that stretched for miles. Sam whispered, "It's a living dimension, a prison made of its body." On the neural link, the predators stirred. Luna's howl echoed faintly through the warped corridors. "Pack hunts still, no matter the den." Amy forced her shaking hands steady. "We're not dead yet. As long as they breathe, the hunt continues." Jake leaned forward, his voice steel. "Then we finish this from the inside. Doctor, tell them to find the heart. We'll give them every second we can." The wolves took the lead. Luna bounded across jagged crystal plains, her silver fur glimmering in the unnatural light. Her pack followed, weaving seamlessly, their claws sparking as they tore into the alien terrain. They didn't need scanners or maps. They could feel the pulse beneath their paws, the rhythm of something alive. "Prey's heart below," Luna growled through the translator. "We dig." The wolves hurled themselves at the ground, claws slicing through crystalline flesh. Shards flew like glass, glowing veins spilling streams of light. The devourer roared, the sound shaking the labyrinth. Goliath lumbered forward behind them, each massive step carving new cracks. His electromagnetic field anchored their surroundings, preventing the dimension from shifting entirely. His voice rumbled like an earthquake. "I will hold the path, hunt fast." Above, Storm and the remaining eagles soared through jagged canyons. They moved like streaks of gold, scanning with eyes sharper than any sensor. The labyrinth bent constantly, pathways collapsing into cliffs, ridges twisting into spirals. But to predators that had hunted across skis for millennia, this was just another storm. Storm screeched, his flock answering in unison. Their talons ripped at tendrils that lashed from the walls, buying the wolves time. For every eagle that struck, another was lost, twisted into light, feathers dissolving into shards. Still they flew, unyielding. Amy's throat ached as she monitored. "Storm, don't." But the eagle's reply was fierce and proud. "Hunters do not retreat, prey bleeds we strike." The lions prowled separately, their sleek forms stalking through vast chambers that glowed like lungs. They moved with silent grace, eyes scanning every nerve thread and vein. One lion paused, placing her paw on a glowing seam. Her ears flicked. "Here," she growled, "pain." Together the lions tore into the seam, their claws shredding the crystalline fibers. The chamber convulsed, light flaring violently. A ripple of agony shook the entire labyrinth. On the Valiant, consoles flared as power surged. Katie shouted, "Sir, the devourer is weakening, its energy flows are disrupted." Jake's eyes burned. "Then the hunters are close to the heart." But the devourer fought back. From the walls of the labyrinth, crystalline guardians emerged. They were shaped like the smaller void hunters, tall, faceted beings with jagged limbs, glowing eyes like shards of suns. They swarmed, hundreds of them, moving with alien grace. They struck first at the wolves. Luna snapped her jaws around one's throat, shattering it into fragments, but three more lunged at her pack. A young wolf was impaled, vanishing in a flash of light. The pack didn't falter. They circled, struck, ripped apart their foes with surgical precision. "More come," Luna growled. "Endless prey." Goliath swiped aside half a dozen with a single massive paw, his claws glowing. But his body sagged, blood staining his fur. His voice rumbled low. "Too many, I cannot." Amy's chest clenched. "No, Goliath, stay with me." His eyes flickered blue through the link. "I will hold until heart is broken." The Valiant pushed deeper, its engines straining. Outside, the Zephyrian fleet fought desperately, their sleek ships firing into crystalline walls that regenerated almost instantly. On the flagship, Vexhi's feathers bristled. "Captain Morrison, why do your creatures keep fighting? They cannot win against this god." Jake turned to him, his voice raw but unyielding. "Because they're hunters, and hunters don't stop until prey is dead. You wanted miracles, Commander? This is what they look like." Storm's flock screeched from above. Through the neural link, Amy felt their sharp clarity. They had found something. Storm's words came fierce and electric. "The heart, beneath the labyrinth, we dive." The eagles folded their wings and plummeted, streaks of gold against a sea of black crystal. Their talons struck deep, tearing open a vast cavern. Light poured out, dazzling, pulsing with power. Inside, the heart of the devourer glowed like a sun trapped in crystal. A massive core, throbbing with energy, veins stretching outward to every corner of the labyrinth. The wolves howled in unison. The lions roared. Goliath lumbered closer, his chest heaving, his electromagnetic field blazing like a storm. They had found the throat, the jugular, the place prey could die. But the devourer sensed it too. The cavern convulsed, collapsing inward. Tendrils thicker than towers lashed down, crystalline guardians pouring into the chamber. Energy flared, beams of annihilation sweeping the floor. Amy screamed into the link, "Pull back, you'll be killed." But Luna's reply was sharp, unshaken. "No retreat, pack ends hunt." The wolves hurled themselves at the tendrils, biting, tearing. The lions leapt, claws slashing glowing veins. Storm and his surviving eagles dove again and again, wings cutting through guardians like blades. Goliath dragged himself forward, his fur burning, his claws sparking. His massive paw slammed into the crystal heart. His voice thundered across the link. Now finish it. On the Valiant, Jake leapt to his feet. All ships concentrate fire on the core. Give the hunters everything you've got. The Zephyrians obeyed, their fleets pouring every last weapon into the cavern. Beams struck, explosions ripping through crystal. The heart shuddered, cracks spreading. Inside, Luna leapt high, her silver fur glowing, her jaws clamping down on the heart's central vein. She bit with all the strength of her kind, fangs piercing deep. The heart screamed, light erupting like a supernova. Storm screeched one final time, his talons raking across the core. Lions slashed, wolves tore, Goliath pressed his massive body against the heart. Cracks spiderwebbed outward, the light grew unbearable. The devourer howled, a scream that shook the galaxy. Then the heart shattered. The labyrinth collapsed. Walls crumbled, veins exploded into light. The entire dimension convulsed, tearing apart at the seams. Ships were hurled outward as reality ripped open. The Valiant shuddered violently as stars reappeared, the Kepler system flickering back into existence. Katie gasped, "Sir, we're back in normal space." On the Zephyrian flagship, survivors cried out in disbelief. The Devourer's vast form writhed above them, cracks splitting its body. Shards of glowing crystal erupted outward, scattering like meteors across the void. The impossible enemy was dying. But victory came with silence. On the neural link, Amy heard nothing. No howls, no screeches, no growl of Goliath's voice. The cavern was gone, the hunters were gone. Her hands shook violently. "No, no, please, not like this." Jake swallowed hard, his heart heavy. "Doctor." She shook her head, tears spilling. "I can't feel them, they're gone." The bridge fell into silence. The crew stared at the screens, watching the Devourer break apart, their relief smothered by grief. The Beast Corps had done the impossible. They had hunted a god, and they had paid the price. The Zephyrians filled the comms with cries of joy, their voices trembling with awe. Vexhai appeared, his feathers blazing bright. "Captain Morrison, you saved us. Your hunters saved us. The Devourer is dead." Jake stood silently, his chest heavy. He nodded once. "They did. Remember them, remember what they gave." But Amy's voice was barely a whisper. "They can't be gone, they can't." Then faint, so faint she thought she imagined it. A growl weak, rough, familiar. "Dr. Hunt finished." Amy gasped, her eyes flying wide. "Goliath." The signal crackled. Then another sound joined it, a distant howl, a faint screech, a roar. They weren't all gone. Somewhere in the collapsing ruins, the Beast Corps still lived. But could they be saved before the void swallowed them whole? The void boiled with collapsing fragments of the Devourer. Its body cracked and split apart, shards of glowing crystal scattering into the black. Each fragment fizzled, dissolving into ash, leaving behind only silence. On the bridge of the Valiant, the crew sat frozen. Katie stared at her console, unable to speak. Sam's knuckles were white on the navigation controls. Jake Morrison stood rigid at the center, his face carved from stone. They had won. The Devourer, the god of the void hunters, was dead. But at what cost? Amy's trembling fingers danced across her neural console, searching, pleading. Come on, answer me." Static filled the link, then faintly a growl. "Dr. Hunt finished." Amy gasped, tears springing to her eyes. "Goliath." The signal wavered, weak and crackling. "We live, not all but Pax survives." Luna's howl echoed faintly across the net. Storm's piercing screech followed. A lion's low rumble joined them. They were alive, battered, broken, but alive. Amy collapsed into her chair, covering her mouth with her hands. Relief shook her to the core. They weren't lost, not yet. Jake turned sharply to Katie. "Lock onto their signal, get me coordinates." Katie's fingers flew. "Sir, I've got them. They're trapped in the collapsing core debris near the center of the Devourer's remains, radiation and dimensional instability everywhere. We can't get close without tearing the ship apart." Jake's jaw tightened. "Then we'll find another way." The Zephyrian flagship appeared on the screen. Commander Vexhai leaned forward, his feathers blazing with renewed life. "Captain Morrison," he said, his voice thick with awe. "You have done the impossible. You killed a god. The Zephyrian Republic owes Earth a debt we can never repay." Jake's eyes burned as he spoke. "Then help us repay our debt. The hunters gave everything for this victory. Some of them are still alive but trapped. We need your science, your tech. If you want to honor them, help us save them. Vexhai glanced to his officers. There was no hesitation. You will have everything, our ships, our minds, our lives. Together we will bring them home. The next hours blurred into desperate work. Zephyrian engineers and human technicians worked side by side, calculating trajectories, bending physics with experimental stabilizers. Shuttles were rigged with shielding never meant for such conditions. Zephyrian mathematicians whispered equations to human navigators, guiding them through collapsing dimensions. Amy sat at the neural link, coaxing faint responses from her hunters. "Stay awake," she begged. "Just stay awake a little longer, we're coming." Goliath's deep rumble answered, faint but steady. "We wait, we trust." The rescue shuttles launched. Amy rode in the lead, strapped into a seat with her hands clenched white around the neural console. The shuttle shook violently as it pierced the collapsing remains of the Devourer. Outside, fragments of crystal spun like asteroids, glowing with unstable energy. Storm's voice screeched through the link, "Here, follow." Through impossible geometry, the eagles guided them. Their golden eyes pierced the chaos, marking safe paths where no computer could calculate. The shuttle twisted, dove, skimmed past collapsing ridges. Amy felt her breath seize in her chest, but then she saw them. The survivors. Luna and 3 of her wolves stood guard in a crystalline cavern, their silver fur scorched, their eyes fierce even in exhaustion. 2 lions lay nearby, their chests heaving, their claws still sparking faintly. Storm and 3 eagles perched above, wings torn but steady. And at the center, Goliath. The bear lay on his side, his massive chest rising slowly, his fur burned, his claws cracked. But his blue glowing eyes opened when Amy rushed forward. "Doctor," he rumbled softly, "you came." Amy knelt beside him, her hand trembling against his fur. "Of course I came. I promised I'd never leave you." The bear exhaled a long, rumbling breath, almost like a sigh of relief. "Then we are home." It took hours to bring them aboard. Specialized lifts strained under Goliath's weight. Medical crews worked frantically to stabilize wounds. The wolves refused to leave Luna's side, growling at anyone who came too close until she barked them down. The eagles screeched when separated, only calming once reunited in a single chamber. But they were alive, and that was enough. 3 days later, the Kepler system burned with rebuilding. Zephyrian ships combed debris, gathering survivors. Humans delivered supplies, medicine, construction drones. Where once there had been despair, now there was life stirring again. In the heart of New Haven City, the Zephyrian capital, a great gathering formed. Commander Vexhai stood before thousands of his people. His feathers blazed brilliant silver as he spoke, his voice carrying across every speaker, every broadcast. 3 days ago, we begged the stars for mercy. We prayed for advanced weapons, for shields, for salvation through technology. What answered was something older, something purer, hunters from Earth, creatures of instinct sharpened by human science, bound by trust and love. The crowd murmured, feathers shimmering with awe. Vexhai lifted his wings high. "They saved us. They did what no fleet, no army, no empire ever could. Today we honor them, not as beasts, not as tools, but as guardians, as family." Behind him, a massive hollow screen lit with images of the beast core. Storm soaring across burning skis, Luna standing fierce atop crystalline ruins, Goliath tearing through alien walls. The crowd erupted in song. A Zephyrian morning cry turned into a hymn of gratitude. Jake watched from the edge of the plaza, his arms crossed. Amy stood beside him, her eyes wet as she listened. "You know," Jake said quietly, "back on Earth, most people don't even know they exist. If they did, they'd probably be terrified." Amy smiled faintly. "Maybe, but fear doesn't last when you see them with children." Her gaze turned. Across the plaza, Zephyrian fledglings played around Goliath's massive form. The bear lay on his back, his paws carefully holding the smallest ones, placing them gently onto his chest. They chirped with delight, tugging at his fur. His deep rumble sounded almost like laughter. Nearby, Luna crouched as older fledglings tried to mimic her stance. She corrected them with nudges and playful growls, teaching them pack tactics as though it were a game. Storm soared above, his golden wings casting light across the square, young Zephyrians cheering as he performed sweeping dives. Jake exhaled. They were built as weapons, but look at them, they're more than that. Amy's voice was soft, proud. They always were, we just gave them the chance to show it. Vexai approached, his feathers bright. Captain Morrison, Dr. Chen, he bowed, a gesture rare among his people. You have not only saved our republic, you have given us something we never thought possible, hunters who fight not for conquest, but for love. Jake tilted his head. We just did what anyone would. No, Vexai said firmly. No one else could have. You humans, you see strength where others see fear. You turn beasts into guardians. You turn instinct into hope. That is your gift to the galaxy. Amy felt warmth spread through her chest. For once, it wasn't about war. It was about trust. That night under alien skis, the survivors gathered one last time. The Beast Corps stood together in the plaza, battered, scarred, but proud. Goliath's fur shimmered faintly in the moonlight, Luna's silver eyes gleamed, Storm's wings spread wide. Around them stood humans and Zephyrians alike, united. Jake stepped forward, raising his voice. We fought the void and we won, not because of weapons, not because of fleets, but because we trusted each other. Humanity, Zephyrians, and predators who chose to stand with us. We proved something tonight, that the galaxy doesn't need gods or conquerors, it needs guardians. The crowd roared. Amy laid her hand against Goliath's side, her voice quiet but firm. You're more than soldiers, you're family, and wherever there's darkness, wherever there's prey that thinks it can't be hunted, we'll face it together. Goliath's deep voice rumbled, carrying across the plaza. Pack protects, pack grows, hunt never ends. The wolves howled, the eagles screeched, the lions roared. Their voices blended into one sound that shook the night sky, not a cry of war, but a promise. Far above, stars shimmered. The void was vast and threats still lurked in its depths, but the galaxy was no longer alone. Because when the stars called for help, when empires begged for salvation, when monsters thought themselves untouchable, Earth's predators would answer. The Beast Corps had hunted the void and won.